Hello. Welcome. Happy New Year. This is another one episode of 100 episodes. We are on episode 99 of 343. My name is AF, joined by my trusted co-hosts, Ziad and Riaz. How are you guys doing?
Leka, all good.
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. It's good for a change for me to be wearing a t-shirt and Ziad to be pitching up in a hoodie. That's a good change to have.
Yes, bro. It's so cold over here. I mean, we won't talk temperature because obviously it's all relative, but it's winter.
And it's summer over here. Yes, please.
That was so conflicting because you could have sounded a bit more excited, but I
Me?
guess your facial expression said everything. So
Oh, I'm extremely excited. I love the heat and I love the summer, so bring it on. I'm ready to go.
that's cool, man. That's cool. And also, January in South Africa means that it's summer, and January in football means that the transfer window is open as well. So we'll be speaking about the latest transfer rumors. We will be speaking about the couple of games that's happened in the last few days, and then looking forward to an Arsenal versus Man United FA Cup tie on Sunday. But yeah, just to go right into the game week review, we had Arsenal drawing, we had Chelsea drawing, we had Liverpool drawing against Man United. Um, we had Spurs losing, and then Newcastle's just gaining more momentum. They're just building on this. Ziad, did you catch the games over the weekend? Was there any games that stood out to you above others?
Yeah, obviously, I think the United Liverpool game was very entertaining. I didn't think I would enjoy it, and I only put it on like I missed a bit of it in watching, and it was quite interesting to see the teams go at it. Obviously, when United scored, I was like, okay, this makes it interesting. But then Liverpool fought back, and then United, yeah, ended up leaving with a point, which is quite good for them. And I don't know if we want them to be having so much confidence coming into the FA Cup tie this weekend. But yeah, that was for me the standard game of the weekend easily. I'll just skip over the part where Arsenal dropped points.
Yes, I'm just gonna go back to that Liverpool game quickly. I think your opinion on Trent Alexander-Arnold was justified during that game.
Well, first of all, it's always justified. It doesn't matter if like they just expose it in one game particular, but it's always justified because it's the truth. And now that they've actually exposed him properly in the game, you can see that it's justified. But yeah, it was unfortunate. I know Slot gave him a bit of an out, saying that Gravenberg wasn't as close to him as he needed to be, and things like that, and which was kind of true, but also I think that the system that United played properly for the first time since Amorim has came there. They played it properly. They went gung ho. They pressed well. They had always an extra man, which just happened to be, I guess, down that side, which was Dallo. And Bruno, with the amazing brain that he has, kind of floating in the half spaces, which gave Alexander Arnold that kind of trouble, which we saw in the game, which allowed Dallo to, I guess, get past him. And but at the end of the day, that's what teams need to do. You need to expose Trent at the end of the day, and you will get goals.
I,
And
I,
yeah,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, and it was very, very good to see United actually coming out head to head with them and kind of changing tactic for a bit, because we're used to seeing, even with the back three, United playing out from the back. And I think it was 80% of the time that Onana had goal kicks, he played long. So they condensed
Yeah.
the pitch of the goal kicks, which is something that Liverpool is not used to defending. And it worked out very well for United at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, Dallo, and I mean Dallo had him on toast from the start right until the moment he got subbed. But also, like Ziad and I, we spoke about this last week, and all the rumors with Real Madrid probably was on his mind. It didn't look like his head was in Merseyside at all. But then Roy Keane, basically, that was probably the my favorite comment from the weekend, and he said that like later on Real Madrid, Tranmere Rovers wouldn't take him either, and then Tranmere Rovers came out and they were like, no, we good as well. So yeah, I love the banter. But yeah, Chelsea, are we are we happy that they drew that they dropped points? Okay, Riaz, that's a very
100%.
emphatic nod.
No, 100%. I mean, they've been off form recently, which has been great. I didn't expect it to come this early. I thought maybe they'd run out of steam towards the end of the season. But in a time where the whole squad is kind of needed, which is the time where both the fixtures are kind of condensed, they have dropped points, which is surprising because I thought this is where they kind of continue the upward trajectory because of how big their squad is. But it's great to see them dropping points. They almost lost the game as well against Palace, which was very surprising. And I'm just happy that they're losing points. It's great to see.
Yeah, Palace played some good football in that second half, and yeah, they were quite unlucky not to come away from that match with some more. Are we looking into Nottingham Forest as a genuine title contender right now, Ziad?
I think, I agree with Riaz there. I think it's fairly simple, man. Look, Liverpool's in a tier on their own. I think there's no one you can put as equal to them or contending with them in any way. I think they're on their own level, and you got a host of teams like somewhere below who are kind of fighting to almost pretend contenders, right? Where I mean, Arsenal obviously most disappointing because they were supposed to be the contenders coming into the season. They were supposed to be challenging for the title, but it seems that between them, Chelsea. They obviously City is not too far behind, even though they lost quite a bit. They're actually not that far behind. They're almost like it's like they all drop points, and it's like okay, just when you think someone's gonna mount a challenge, they drop points, and then it's the next one and the next one. And Forest have been fairly consistent. I mean, there was a patch where they weren't doing too well, but and I think this season might be defined by runs where I don't think they'll be able to sustain this. I mean, look at Villa. Villa were in a similar position, and now Villa's a bit lower down the table. We're currently in the middle of Newcastle's great run. And I think there's going to be a couple more runs from a couple different teams before things all shake out at the end.
Yeah, I think the difference with Villa is that now they're playing an extra like 5-star competition this season. Whereas, say for example, Forest finish in the top 4 this season, they'll probably go through a similar sort of journey next season
Yeah, but I
because
mean, Villa
their
is like
squad
the
won't be
top
able
of
to
the
go deep
Champions
enough.
League, right? Or close to the top. And at the league, they were also doing quite well. They just tailed off recently. So I think that's kind of like you're probably right. I mean, if Forest do sustain it and qualify next season, will be hard for them.
Yeah.
But I mean, the season itself, I just think there's going to be a couple more runs. People are going to string together results 5, 6 in a row or something, and it will affect the table, And I think that's what we're going to see.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Riaz, do you think Spurs goes on one of those runs that Ziad spoke about now? I mean, over the weekend, there were some dodgy calls in that match, and Ange was visibly pissed off in that post-match interview. I don't think I've heard him that blunt with a reporter or an interviewer. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, while Ziad was actually saying that, I was thinking, can Spurs actually do it? Is it possible for us to like go on a run and be one of those teams that put together something that will get us into a European place? And unfortunately, my answer came to no. I wasn't going to say it until you asked me that question. So unfortunately,
no. But don't you think once some of the players return, like Van der Ven, the defense gets a bit stronger. Son regains form because Son's been a bit off color. And he will obviously he's a quality world class player, so I think he'll come into form, and then they could. I mean, Sri Lanka is in fine goal scoring form at the moment.
Yeah.
Kulusevski's had a great season so far. So I mean, you could potentially put something together if all those guys come through. I think that the goalkeeper that played over the weekend was a lot better than Forster, so that's also quite promising.
And we
But
bought
you
a new
guys signed
goalkeeper.
a new goalkeeper now.
Yeah, that also. So
that's going to be interesting to see tonight if who plays actually. But it's just everything that you're saying is right. If people come back, if we get a proper first team going, if we get four of our defenders back and fit, we might go on a run. But the problem is that we don't settle, and that's the actual issue. We don't settle, and we don't have any consistency. So I struggle to see where we can. Like we might have 7 games. Out of the 7 games, we'll win 5, but we'll lose 2 of them like 6-0 or something, or something crazy. Or we'll be 4-0 up and lose 5-4, or something stupid like that. And that's just the nature of the beast, I guess, that we're kind of building at the moment. But hopefully, obviously, that's the goal when we get our first 11 back, which seems to only be in late Feb or something crazy. Hopefully, we'll go on a run then. But hopefully, we're not still in the bottom part of the table, which we probably will be at that point in time. But it's been difficult. It's definitely been difficult.
Yeah, and another team that's actually had a resurgence as opposed to Spurs is Newcastle. And I mean, I think it was since the turn of December where they started the month and hit the ground running, and they haven't really looked back. We spoke about how Eddie Howe was under pressure and stuff, and he's taken that in his stride. He's come up with different ideas, and all of the players, they look like they are giving 110% now. Sandro Tonali looks like their best midfielder and their best outlet in terms of creativity. But Alexander Isak, man, come on, guys, he's probably the best striker in the world right now. Like, I would go further than Europe. I think he's the most informed striker in the world. Ziad, after last night's Carabao Cup lost to them. So like, I just like to hear your thoughts, because I know United lost 2-0 last week, Monday, was it? To them. Alexander
Yeah,
Isak, he was the
yeah. I
hub
mean,
of everything.
he's on fire, and
And
that's the thing when you have a world class goal scorer in your team, you can go on these runs that I'm speaking about. And the thing with Newcastle, they've settled into their first choice 11 basically. They got key players back. Like obviously getting Botman back is immense for that team. That midfield has clicked finally. Joe Linton, Sandro Tonali's obviously had to find his footing again after being out of
yeah,
competitive action for a period of time. And then obviously once Isak started scoring and scoring regularly, it's now, and obviously Anthony Gordon with his pace, they have a lot going for them, and they're quite solid as well at the back. And everything comes down to confidence, man. A couple of these games you start getting confident, and now you're on a high. And yeah, they definitely the form team in the Premier League. And like you say, whatever Isak's value was a month or two ago, it's now gone up by at least another 20-30 million.
For you guys.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, he'd be on the radar now for a lot of teams.
Yeah,
yeah,
true. I think also that having such a settled team makes a massive difference, because I think we're the only team to score against them in the last 6 or 7 games, something like that. They've kept clean sheets for the
Yeah.
last 6 or 7 games, which is ridiculous in the Premier League.
Yeah,
And
I mean, their
again,
defense was one of the leaky ones early on in the season.
yeah,
So, yeah.
100%. And then, of course, it was the bully game last night between Arsenal and Chelsea. I mean, between Arsenal and Newcastle, who can bully the other team the best, who can use the dark arts the best. We saw crazy stuff happening in that game. People shouldering people pulling back other people time wasting. It was crazy to see last night. It was good to see the two
Yeah.
like biggest dark art teams play against each other last night. It was interesting.
I'm not sure how to take that because they there was I can't remember who was it that pulled Isak just outside the
It was
penalty area.
Trossard.
It was Trossard, and the referee was standing right next to him, and he was just like, "No, play on. It's cool. It's a corner. Just go ahead." I'm like,
Yeah,
dude,
no,
that was like one of the most blatant pulls.
let's not go into the refs, man. Don't want to upset Ange again.
Yeah,
No,
let's
no,
not
no.
do it.
Fair,
And
fair. Last game that I want to speak about, and I'm not really going to speak about it, but it was the event that proved to be a catalyst for Julen Lopetegui. City thrashed West Ham 4-1. So yeah, he was actually sacked today, and
was that
Graham
confirmed?
Potter, yeah, confirmed about an hour and a half ago.
Yeah, dead man
Announced.
walking. I've been saying it for weeks.
We've
Yeah,
been saying it since the start of the season, to be fair.
he was he was buying time by like winning the odd game every now and then. But okay, he's been sacked now, and Graham Potter he's been verbally agreed. He hasn't been announced officially yet. Yes, do you think that's a good appointment for West Ham?
Uh, I think it's a great appointment, but I was very vocal from the beginning of the season, from the first two kind of weekends where I watched them play, where they were shocking, and I thought, okay, he's going to be the first one to go. And when I looked kind of a couple of weeks ago, because I kept saying that over and over, and then I looked a couple of weeks ago at the table, and they're 1 point behind United. I mean, 1 point behind us, same points as United. So I guess it's the manner of which they lose games that they kind of didn't like, and that's why they sacked him. But the West Ham aren't actually doing too badly, I suppose, if you look
Yeah.
at the table. But yeah, I think I think Graham Potter is a great manager, and I think he'll kind of make them less leaky. Although it's not that difficult to make it a bit less leaky, because every time they play a decent opponent, they leak 4 or 5 goals. So yeah, I think it's a good appointment, and it's going to be good for West Ham. They can probably end. Still possible for them to end at the top half of the table this season. They're
It's a
good
weird
players.
one though, because the players that they've recruited, those were all Lopetegui's players.
True.
He wanted those players. He handpicked these players to be in a squad that he will be able to coach properly, and it just didn't work out for him. I have some stats over here: 20 matches in the Premier League, 6 wins, 5 draws, 10 losses, but only scoring 24 goals and conceding 39. So I
Yeah.
think that's, like you mentioned, the manner of them losing. Conceding 39 goals after half a season is a bit mental
Yeah.
in your first season, and you are supposed to be this prestigious manager that has coached at Real Madrid. You coached the Spanish national team, and there was so much expectation, and you just fumbled it so hard. Ziad, your thoughts on Graham Potter?
Yeah, I think it's quite exciting to have a British manager back in there at West Ham, especially considering how well Moyes did with the team. I mean, I think there's a good squad for him to work with, and obviously after the disappointment at Chelsea for him, he'd be raring to go and to prove that he's a good manager. And again, sadly, sometimes for managers, certain levels are just but out of reach for them. And maybe Chelsea was just too big of a club for Graham Potter, and West Ham might be just the right fit for him. And yeah, I wish him well. I always enjoyed watching his teams play, and I do like that West Ham squad as well.
Yeah, fair, fair, fair. We mentioned at the starting of the episode that we will be speaking about some transfer news. So we'll just start off with this one. And yes, I think you have Jhon Duran on your list for today.
Yeah, this surprised me when it came up, actually, because he's been doing really well this season. It also surprised me last summer, or the last transfer window, when it was actually rumored to leave Aston Villa. And I'm not sure if it's the same reasons, because the last summer it was, I think, because of his attitude or something like that. Like, I didn't really like the attitude around the training ground, something along those lines. But now it's come up again. Even though he's been scoring goals, he scored Champions League goals. He overtook Ollie Watkins in the starting berth for a couple of weeks, at the very least, and now he's again on the chopping block. Well, not on the chopping block, but there's rumors about him going to Barcelona for 60 million.
But what's Barcelona gonna sell to get him in there? Are they gonna sell someone's kidney, or
I
are they
don't
gonna
know
sell
how are
parking
they.
spots in the parking lot, or what's next for them?
They couldn't even register Danny Olmo and some other fella.
Exactly.
So I'm not sure how any rumors going to Barcelona are even true. I think they have to like sell off the club at this rate to be able to afford anybody or anything.
Crazy.
So
But
there was something that they appealed for, or they applied for
mm,
with UEFA, I think, that they applied directly, and that's something called the 1-1 rule. It's like a 1-to-1 ratio, and
okay,
they were successful with it. So essentially, what it is if you sell a player for 60 mil, you are allowed to buy a player for 60 mil. So I think that they'll probably explore options within their squad of players that they can now try to sell, so that they
yeah,
can try to get players in. But that's only for buying and selling. Registering is a
Yeah,
different
that's a
thing, because
different story. Exactly.
that's a different avenue that they'd have to go down. But yeah, I don't understand why any player would want to go to Barcelona now,
yeah.
knowing that there's the danger or the risk of them not being able to be registered for the season, and then they're just chilling on the bench and training
And
for half a season.
I think PSG also might come in for him, if I'm not mistaken. But the fact that that they want to sell him in the first place is a bit of a surprise for me. 60 million, I think, is a decent tag, just because of the age, I suppose. And but yeah, it's surprising that kind of they want to sell him, because if they do sell him, who's the backup for Ollie Watkins? And they have the Champions League, they have the league going forward, and they're already struggling with the balance, like like you said earlier. So, I mean, to sell him wouldn't make much sense to me. But it'll be interesting if he does go.
Yeah, it's just so weird because I mean, you're in the Champions League now. The players that are part of your squad should know that, like, I mean, there's multiple competitions to be played in the season. Everybody's going to get an opportunity because the squad needs to be deeper. The squad needs to be stronger. So it's
Yeah.
weird when players just like, oh, okay, I'm not getting enough game time, I need to leave.
But that's why I'm
But yeah,
thinking that there might be like a behind the scenes reason to kind of
okay,
why they want to sell him. I'm not sure though. We'll see if he ends up going.
cool. On to the next one. Ziad, talk to us.
Yeah, so Man City are in for Omar Marmoush from Eintracht Frankfurt. Informed striker at the moment. Very similar in profile to Julian Alvarez, who they sold to Atletico Madrid and at the start of the season. Um, Frankfurt are saying that nobody's untouchable. Everyone has their number. I think initially City went in with 40 million, but that's not going to be enough. And I think if they can get it up to 50, they can secure the player. Will definitely add some value to the team because they need that type of support for Haaland. And at Frankfurt, he has 30 goal involvements this season already. So it's 18 goals, 12 assists. But the tough. I actually wanted Arsenal to go in and try and get this player to join them. Because you could go on there in that Martinelli position where Martinelli's not doing too well at the moment. But yeah, if City can get him, will definitely boost their squad. He's an Egyptian as well, so you can channel the Mohamed Salah vibes. And yeah, I think it'll probably happen sooner or later in this window for City.
Yeah, and I think they need it. Like we spoke a couple of weeks ago about the fact that like Julian Alvarez isn't there, and that's probably played with the fact that Haaland wasn't, like when Haaland wasn't scoring, City were kind of like stuck for goals, because that's normally when Alvarez would have come in, score those goals, just take some of the pressure off of them. So I think this works like you mentioned, in the same mold, sort of same position as Julian Alvarez, and yeah, I think it's a no-brainer for City. Um, Also, another thing that I don't know if players want to go to City until the court case and all of those things are settled. But that's another story. Do you guys anything from you?
Yeah, it's interesting that they want to spend so much money on kind of a Julian Alvarez copy, but why don't they just keep him in the first place? I mean, uh, I think that they have more pressing issues in terms of obviously what we always talk about in the midfield, and yeah, that's like while you make a good point as to the goals have dried up quite significantly when Nyland isn't scoring, but they're also conceding a lot of goals, which is the issues why they've gone on their terrible run that they've been on. And that's been down to kind of a less solid midfield, which is consisting of currently Gundogan and Kovacic, who surprisingly, because both are really, really good players, can't really play that specific sitting role in front of the defenders. Don't really have that ability to kind of protect the back four as much as, of course, Rodri can. But interesting to see them going for kind of this kind of a player. But I'm sure, like Ziad, or you guys have spoken about his goal involvements this season. And I mean, if play can do that, he'd be an asset to any team. So it'll be definitely a good buy. And if it does happen, but yeah, I think City have a bit of other areas to kind of fill at the moment.
Yeah. Final one, and this one has been filling up my entire feed. Uh, like I think I've muted so many pages on social media sites because it's just like regurgitating the same story in different ways. But I guess it's because he's a golden British boy, and all of these outlets they want to speak about Marcus Rashford, and over here, if you are watching us on YouTube and if you are listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, he is linked with Borussia Dortmund and AC Milan. That's what our graphic shows. But a couple of hours ago, he's been linked with Spurs as well. This will be on a loan. I just think that there's a lot going wrong. This is giving me Sancho and Erik ten Hag vibes, where the two camps are just not on the same page, and I don't think that they ever will be. And yeah, it's going to do more harm than good if the longer he stays at United. Maybe going to a new country, a new league, playing in a different environment will do him so much better. And yeah, I really hope that he finds his love for the game again, because I remember how good he was when he was on song, but the consistency was never ever a thing. Riaz, you know that, like we've spoken about, if Rashford was a consistent player, he would be one of the best out there. But he always um, just like falls off sometime during the season. So yeah, I hope this loan works out for him to one of the three destinations. I don't. I think the Premier League team is completely off the table, so I don't think Spurs happens. But yeah, I think Dortmund or AC Milan would really be a good destination for him. You guys have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Spurs, if they were willing to buy him outright, then maybe you'd go to the Premier League club. But yeah, I think you're right. You'd have to go outside the league. But I mean, it's giving the same feeling Sterling's deal gave, where by the end of the transfer window, he probably does get out of the club at the cost of Man United rather than anyone else, unless someone's really willing to invest in him. Good player,
Yeah,
can see what he can do. Obviously, AC Milan just changed their coach recently, so it could be something they look at, but it's the whole thing of his position where he wants to play and so on. And to be honest, he has every right to stay at United. They gave him the contract, and yeah, he can cash in if he wants to and just sit there, or he can work hard and try and get back in the team. So it's basically all up to him, I think, at this point. It's
yeah,
it's not exactly the same as Sancho because he was on the bench in the last game. So he's not in exile. Maybe he can work something out. But yeah, the thing is with all these players, man, I think we spoke about this before. All the wages that they get put on, who's gonna take them? I mean,
yeah,
it's ridiculous wages. You can't really get this guy into any other team without him taking a pay cut, and he earned that contract technically. So why would he? Why should he take a pay cut? Pay cut, you know. It's yeah, it's a kind of this is what football has become in some ways, where people get overpaid and then they try to get rid of the player and they can't because you have to pay him out or whatever the case is.
Yeah, and that's why he's not coming to us, right? Because we have a pay cap. We
Yeah,
don't play players for more than a specific amount
which
of
is fair.
whatever.
yeah,
And also we also already have a useless left winger in the name of Timo Werner, so it's pointless for us to get another one.
You say
Um,
that quota is filled already.
yeah, that that area of the squad is already filled, so we don't need another one. um,
Uh,
and he also works less hard than Timo Werner does, so it's just not
yeah,
going to work out for us. So yeah, hopefully he doesn't come to us. I don't think Ange will even. I think that rumor is useless, to be honest with you, because I don't think Ange will ever want someone like him
yeah,
because of the work rate, because he's been dropped from the United team for the work that he's shown in training.
yeah,
And
yeah.
our whole thing at Spurs is that if you work hard, you play. So there's no way that we're going to want him after his recent showing at United. But honestly, I'm with you, AF. I hope that he goes to AC or Dortmund, and you put it perfectly, he reignites his love for the game, because that's the only way that a player like that can kind of get their form back, is if they reignite their love for the game, is if playing like you want to play, or act like you want to play every week and help the team every week. And hopefully he's able to do that, because otherwise I think his career is going to be done, unfortunately.
yeah. I think AC Milan, like, just it plays into that as well, because of the English players over there already, Loftus Cheek and Tomori, Tammy Abraham. Those are players that he's quite close with when they make the England camp. So I think that one's going to be a no-brainer. It's just about the type of deal that can be worked out. That United want half of his wages to be paid, and they'll pay the other half. So it's going to be small things like that that's going to end up dictating if this loan deal happens or not.
Small things like half his half his wages, which is like 175K.
Exactly. But yeah, that wraps up the transfer segment. Final thing on our to-do list today is the FA Cup preview. And I mean, after last night again, do we think that Arteta is going to be choosing his own ball to be played with in the FA Cup?
Man, the excuses are coming in thick and fast. I mean, he's definitely creative. But I mean, what crap is that? Look, from a professional perspective, if you know you're playing with a certain ball, I guarantee you in training you're using that same ball leading
Yeah,
up
they
to
have
the
to.
game. I mean, it's definitely not the ball's fault that Kai Havertz chose his shoulder instead of his head. And Isaac had no issues with the ball. Obviously, they
And
both Isaac
Martinelli is
and Gordon
upright.
had. Yeah, I mean that ball fizzed off there. I think that's one of the things that have me a bit concerned is the excuses. I feel like there's a lack of accountability that's starting to creep in, and if it's I don't know if he just does it for the cameras and in the dressing room he's different with the team and they hold him accountable. But at some point you have to get the players to back up. And I mean, they didn't do quite a bit. It was just unlucky in some ways that they didn't finish. But that's again, that's by design. These are the players that you chose. Instead of getting strikers and getting players who are better at finishing, we have great players with technical ability, but they all seem to be able to struggle to score goals, which is what we need the most. And the thing with the set pieces, bro, I think it was so overblown that now it's almost like when we don't score off a corner, it's a big deal. But when we
Yeah.
were scoring off corners, we were stoked. Like there's no middle ground, man. At the end of the
What was
day,
the
it
compliment
basically
though?
it regressed to the mean where yeah, you're gonna score off set pieces possibly, but it's not a foregone conclusion. So I mean that definitely dent in confidence the performance last night, and coming up against United who are buzzing with getting a point at Anfield, it makes for interesting draw. And in the cup run, everything goes out the window because it's a one-off fixture. Anything can happen,
Yeah.
and I feel that with the way things are currently, United definitely have a chance.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I think the players feel the same way in the United camp. I think that they feel that, especially now with them having less. That's another thing that's playing into it. Like Arsenal played midweek, United have a full week of rest, of training, more time to buy into this new system, and all of those things. Riaz, do you think are you on the same side and on the same page of United being a bit more optimistic now moving forward, or do you think that this is Arsenal all said and done, move on to the next?
I think this is actually United's most crucial fixture of the whole season so far because of the fact that the way that Bruno and Amorim spoke after the game against Liverpool, where they were like, this is what we're trying to do. This is how we're supposed to be every week, not just against the best team in the country. We're supposed to be like this against Southampton, against West Ham, against everyone that they should come up with. And they weren't like that for the past couple of weeks. They were losing to Newcastle and whatever the case may be. So uh, this fixture will prove kind of where they're at now with their headspace. And they have to want to come out guns blazing because they've proven that if they do that, they can actually get a result from it, which is what happened against Liverpool. So I also think that the specifics of how they played against Liverpool, they'll kind of need to adapt to the Arsenal team, where it's not going to be the exact same game. And I think Amorim is smart enough to know that on a game-by-game basis, you need to kind of change the way that you're playing, which is something that unfortunately my team doesn't know how to do. You need to adapt to the opposition. And
Let's see
I
if
think
they
that
adapt tonight.
no, it's going to be another ridiculous. We're going to get destroyed. But anyways, the game that we wanted to preview. Yeah, I think that this weekend is going to be crucial to kind of United season going forward, because if they can come out like they did against Liverpool, then they have all the reason to be like excited and have or expect an upturn in form and have a good morale in the camp. But if they come out and they kind of lose their way and Arsenal pump them 3-0, 3-1, something like that, then it's back to the drawing board, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think that there is any significant player on United's team that Arsenal might be plotting the entire game plan around?
I think this specific one, because I don't think there's any like gaps in the back line really. Like Trent is a big gap that you can kind of exploit at any point in time that you want to. You just need to stop him from getting forward. But in Arsenal, I think their back four is really, really good. I think that's, like Ziad was saying earlier, they have very good technical players all around the field, and the back four is not the problem. The problem is kind of scoring goals. So, I mean, when you have people like Alexander Isak, then they can exploit you no matter how good your back four is. But I think that this kind of game against Arsenal, I think maybe if Partey plays right back, if they're forced into a Partey right back situation, they might struggle a bit in that regard. But otherwise, I think that United need to just stick to kind of the aggressive way that they played against Liverpool, and I think they'll be fine.
Yeah. Ziad, do you think that in terms of the players that Arsenal have, the players that United have, we've seen like Højlund, he struggled for any sort of through balls, for any time they try to feed him in, it's never on the same wavelength. Michael Owen called the United strikers spot at the moment a poison chalice. Do you think that continues? Do you think that anything that happened last week against Liverpool like just feeds into changing that in any way?
Yeah, like Riyaz said, I mean, they're going to have to adapt a little because they can't play the same way. They can't technically just camp out on one through there, which they did against Trent. I mean, I know you said our back four solid, Riyaz, but they've been sloppy in recent times, man. And if you can get Calafiori backpedaling, then you can get past him and put the ball in the box. If Timber commits forward with a lot of possession, you can then go in behind him. And we know once you put Gabriel in that position, 1v1, also backpedaling, it does get a bit suspect. And if you have a guy like Bruno who will initiate the tackle and then go down, you kind of, those are the type of players that Arsenal struggle against, because they just somehow don't know that the trick is coming, even though we all know it's going to happen. Right? Bruno's going to look for it. And they just keep doing the same thing, keep falling for everyone's tricks. So, I mean, I'm interested to see what Arteta does against Amorim's formation and strategy. And obviously United got pace out wide, so on the counter, I mean, if Diallo gets 1v1 against Calafiori or Gabriel on a counter, it could be costly for the Gunners.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be United's plan. The only thing I don't think they can do is defend with discipline like Newcastle did yesterday and like other teams have done against Arsenal. So we'll have chances. But again, now, are we going to put it away or not? And then obviously reverse, can we stop the United counter from happening? Because against Arsenal, one shot, one goal. That's all you need. So
If I want to ask you a question, if you don't mind, in terms of kind of the way that you guys are playing at the moment, do you kind of like, because I think Bruno was very good as the second 10 on against Liverpool, but he also when he moved back into kind of the center midfield, when he played there as well later in the game when somebody else got subbed, I think it was Mainu. I think when Mainu got subbed, he played next to Ugarte, and he still looked really, really good. Do you prefer him as the 10 or do you prefer him further back? Because I think like his ability on the ball has been like very good in the midfield, but also in the attack, he's good with his movement, conversely. So where do you prefer him playing?
I prefer him to be closer to the box, but I think that Amorim is going to try to find a way to give him this free roaming sort of position. so that you can cover more ground, that you can cover more areas, you can link up with more players around the pitch, and I think that's where he thrives the most. Trying to be in more positions during the game. So, but I do prefer him to be closer to the box because that's where his speciality is. But I can see him like being that deep line player in that sort of quarterback role. That can work out well as well.
I mean, there's good
Just going,
synergy also between him and Dalo on that left hand side,
yeah,
which they
yeah,
exploited on the weekend. And when he does move centrally, if you're throwing the pace of Garnacho there, then he has someone to put the ball over to,
Yeah.
someone to
yeah,
run onto the ball between Garnacho and Diallo, where Hoyland obviously back towards goal. That doesn't really help Bruno in
Yeah.
any way. It doesn't help his effectiveness, right? You kind of need that guy who's gonna run and he puts a ball
Yeah.
through or over the top. If he's playing deep and if he's playing wide, then it all depends on movement, right? That overlapping that Diallo did, the guys making runs into the box, Diallo at the far post, things like that.
yeah. It's interesting that you brought that up because if you look on the left hand side of United, you'll have Bruno playing in the left 10, and you'll have Diallo making the overlapping runs. But on the right side, you'll have Diallo playing in the left 10 or in the right 10, but you won't see Mazraoui making that overlap because Diallo is quick enough, whereas Bruno doesn't have the legs to do that. So,
And
like,
also, I think with
it's,
that inverted thing, right? When they out of possession, the formation kind of changes. So in possession, Mazraoui probably tucks in to provide
yeah,
cover for Dalo that's going up. Then they essentially have a back four because there's the three centre who's holding his position, and then they're bombing up on the left. So you kind of have these different tactical tendencies across the field, with and without the ball. It's the same with Arsenal. I
yeah,
think Timber bombs forward a lot more than Calafiori, who tucks in.
Yeah.
When Lewis Kelly plays, he maybe gets a bit more forward. It just depends. And sometimes I think all teams want three at the back when they have possession. So a midfielder either drops in to help cover, or one of the right or left back drops in.
yeah. I think like you spoke about Calafiori earlier, like he'll probably be a sort of a path for Diallo to get past. I don't think Calafiori starts at left back, to be honest. I think it will be Timber because in the game that they played in the Premier League about a month or so ago, um, I can't remember who started that one. I think it was Kivio that started at left back, and Diallo
Yeah,
absolutely ate him for breakfast, lunch, and supper. And then they changed it around to Timber, and Diallo couldn't get past Timber at all. So
but
he
then
was
that
very
opens up
resolute in his
right back for
defending.
Party, and that's not a
Yeah.
good thing
Yeah,
either. Because it takes
yeah,
away from what the midfield wants to do. I mean, the thing is, we're missing Ben White, which is Ben White
yeah,
again. I keep saying this with a lot of teams and players and stuff. There's synergy, man. Ben White and Saliba together work really well. Saliba looks better, and Ben White himself makes he's a bit more solid in defense. Doesn't give you as much going forward, obviously, as Timber does, but there's that chemistry they've built up over time, and which Timber obviously doesn't have yet. And they keep moving Timber right, left, right, left. So you kind of don't get that the time to develop the chemistry, and then you got Gabriel on the other side with then it's Timber, Calafiori, then it's Lewis Kelly. And the thing is, when you're playing with different players, there's different ways to communicate. You kind of have to know what each player's strength is and how to cover that if you know a really good centre back. And that's where I feel like Virgil obviously is one of the best in the world, because you saw him at the time when Liverpool obviously at their peak, he was playing on the side with Trent,
yeah,
right? And now what you've seen in recent times, he's actually shifted to play with Robertson, and they're putting Konate as much as possible with Trent because Konate is a bit faster, so he can cover more ground. Like these are the small things that really matter in a back four. It's communication, it's how people work together, and I think that's where Arsenal obviously are going wrong in terms of not being able to field a consistent back four. Whereas last season we could field the same four every game. I think only left back we were interchanging, but the three were solid and they played much better. But what we're seeing this season is every week, every game basically it's a different back four, and that has
yeah,
affected the performance. With the Tomiyasu injury, Ben White's injured. And then we got a million left backs in the squad. So it's a strange thing to see.
At least you have cover.
Yeah, but it's covered like in one spot, bro. It's like, okay, let's pick 4 left backs today and see what happens. Um,
I
The
actually
fact
did
that
some
Ian
research.
Tierney is still on the books is crazy.
I love that boy. I really love that boy. Seriously, I think he's a great left back.
no,
I
he's,
rate him
he's
very highly.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I
Let's
did,
go predictions.
I did some quickly just
Okay.
before we get to predictions. I did some research because the question you asked last week on the show was how many different backline pairings that Spurs have had over the last couple of weeks or the last couple of months, and I think it's 9 or 10, if I'm not mistaken. 9 or 10 different combinations at the back in the last couple of months. So that's quite crazy. That was a mad stat that I thought I should give you.
You want to kick us off on predictions over there?
I think that United are going to win 2-1. Simple.
That's fair, Siad.
Yeah. Can you draw games like this? Or does it go
Yeah.
to
Pens, bro.
penalties?
Pens.
Pens, yeah, I'm going penalties. I reckon
Yeah,
another
that-
2-2 possibly. And then penalties. I think United are going to edge it on penalties because Onana, I think, is just a better penalty stopper than
yeah.
David Raya. So,
I'm
yeah.
going verbatim. I'm going verbatim for that. I love a good penalty shootout, and yeah, like you
Nah,
said,
I
I
don't
think
want penalties,
I think
bro.
Onana is he's a really good shot stopper for
See, I
penalties. He's
have
done it a lot in
PTSD,
Serie
man,
A.
with these United games. The players come and they just like amazing, and then you never hear of them again. Federico Macheda, and I even think El Anthony was spinning around a few times against us and scored.
Yeah, he
So
scored. He
it's
scored
like
on his debut
these
against
Muppets,
Arsenal.
man. They come and they decide they're gonna play out of their skin. I don't know who it's gonna be. Maybe it's gonna be Xerxes who's gonna do some mad stuff
Oh, that's a
when
good
he
shot.
has 1.5 feet out of the club. Basically, they're trying to push him out through the door, but somehow he's holding on and saying, "Nah, I want to stay." Yeah, some mad stuff. I always think it's, and especially in a cup game, some more chaos. You know, Anana could score her own goal and then stop 3 penalties also in the shootout.
Honestly,
Yeah,
Onana
and
should have saved that Salah penalty. If we being
He went the right
cynical.
way.
oh,
Nah,
he,
that was, bro. If he
Nah, he
had to
should have
get a
saved.
hand
He
to that,
got
his
it.
hand would have
He got
broke.
it. No
His
ways, he
hand
got it.
broke, bro.
he did. He got a finger on it.
Yeah, he got
He got
it.
a
He
He
should
finger
have
on it.
saved it.
it went through him basically.
Yeah.
I
Nah,
think he should
Salah
have
hit
been
that one
fine.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't
Bruh,
like there. It was like here. So I
Salah
feel
could
like
have
he could have
backheeled
saved it.
that penalty also, man. Like
It
the
was
man
always
is,
going to happen.
you know, when you,
It
when
was
you
always.
have that type of form, man, it's just like everything you touch turns to gold, bruh. And he's in sublime form. So everything
Yeah.
you do is just next level.
I just wanted him to miss because I wanted all of you people to suffer. All you Salah captains to suffer.
Oh, do you still play FPL?
You can't
Don't
hate
act
watch like
here.
that, bro.
Don't act here like you don't play it.
This,
Don't act
didn't this
here.
dude get like a triple digit score last
Yeah,
week
I
or
think
something?
so. I think so. Now you want to act like we don't look at it anymore. Yeah.
That's it. I don't do much. I captain Salah and I keep quiet.
We all
what
captain Salah is
what
what you
else is
guys
there to do in FPL, man? Honestly, it's
have. Is the only guy to have Haaland in the in the team and captain him. That's me. Do it.
well
Do it
done, man. Well
differential.
done.
No, it's not well
Now
done. You
you
still outscored
Your
me.
your budget is probably suffering right now. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think we can wrap this episode up just on that note. Don't forget that we have a 100 episode giveaway that we will be announcing in our live episode next week. So yeah, we made a video that should pop up around now of how you can enter. And plain and simple, there's just about 3 things that you have to do. So yeah, join us in the chat next week. It's going to be a vibe. All 3 of us will probably be there, joined by Jason, who just flaked on us today. Thanks for that, Jason. And
Arsenal
yeah,
lost last night.
it's going to be great. It's the prize is a Liverpool jersey. So all you Liverpool fans, this is your time. Don't say that we don't ever think about you. This one is for you guys. But yeah, thanks you guys for showing up. Anything from you, Ziad? Where can the people
Yeah,
find you?
if you really want to win, then just quote me. When you enter the competition, you have a better chance of winning.
That's not
Riaz?
the truth. I think if you want to win the competition, just type exposed Trent and then you'll win a Liverpool jersey. How about that?
Yeah, that actually qualifies now. So
Yeah.
thanks for that.
Yeah, he has brought it
Um,
into existence.
yeah. But yeah, apart from that, follow us on all social media platforms at Sportycast. Like this video, share this video, click the subscribe button below, and hit the notification bell also so that you are notified whenever we drop new content. And on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review. It helps us so much in terms of the podcast actually being pushed by the system. But yeah, I am A4343. Catch you guys next week in the 100 episode.